guys. For my quick 5 minutes, I'd like to share something I found particularly interesting and cool about what has become one of my favorite books in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes. If you've read Ecclesiastes or have been around conversations about the book, you would know that Ecclesiastes reads very depressing, as it essentially boils down to existential dread. So the fact I've decided to choose Ecclesiastes as my 5 for 5 topic is probably very telling of who I am. I'm kidding, or am I? Anyways, I've grown to appreciate how, along with the gospel, the wisdom behind Ecclesiastes grows more relevant and relatable each passing year in my young life. Life today can sometimes feel like a blur where virality, trends, tragedy, and technology seem to define and bookmark the chapters of our day-to-day life. A real example of that in my life right now is when the group chats, invites, and social media content are booming for this upcoming fantasy football season, all shooting at me in the short span of a week, only to fall out of obscurity, and nobody really cares about that. Life goes by, and humanity is left wondering, what's the point? What's the point of all of this? An age-old tale and another indication that there is nothing new under the sun. In school, I've been learning about the effects of depression, anger, and anxiety, and overall nihilism that has actually increased in my generation and the generations to come. So when diving into the book, an intriguing thought of how to actually read Ecclesiastes to discern and understand the Lord's message became important to me. And it's because of this: voice. Voice is such an important aspect of reading our Bibles. When I was a kid, I often read the Bible, or any book for that matter, in an extremely animated or cliche voice to spice things up. For example, God sounding like a combination of Morgan Freeman and Optimus Prime. Just read this passage from the beginning of the book in Ecclesiastes. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. When reading this, obviously this is an extremely passionate statement by Solomon, but just as most other verses in the Bible, there's always more behind what we simply see. Let me read this next section in a different light. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south, turns to the north, round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing. The ear never has its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. Nothing is new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was already here long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. To me, this idea of the way a message is perceived through something like voice resonated so much with my understanding of the ever-increasing depressive climate of these days, something I know all too well. Ecclesiastes, to me, seems to be a commonly misunderstood book under this guise of being dark, demoralizing, or devoid of hope. And I believe it may have something to do with that innate voice that Ecclesiastes brings out of the reader for the first few reads. This voice can almost reaffirm the suffering and perceived pointlessness of our world today. And through that, we may miss or overlook the importance of this book. Ultimately, Ecclesiastes offers one the opportunity to understand the emptiness and despair that those who do not know God grapple with a day-to-day basis. Those who do not have a saving faith in Christ are faced with a life that will ultimately end and become irrelevant. If there is no salvation and no God, then not only is there no point to life, but no purpose or direction to it either. The world under the sun, apart from God, is frustrating. It is cruel. It is unfair. It is brief, and it is utterly meaningless. But with Christ, life is but a shadow of the glories to come in a heaven that is only accessible through him. So consider this. Diving into Ecclesiastes for your next study, or if you haven't this year, read Ecclesiastes like it's that cool uncle, brother, or cousin who's been through it all and is providing simple wisdom on simply how life is and how frightening life is without Jesus Christ in it.